So hello everybody and welcome to Tiny Town VR. This is a new game, well actually it's not a game, it's a sandbox thing which you have assets which you use to create a town, like cars, streets, buildings, people that you can move with their limbs around and stuff like that. And this video is gonna be a first look of it, and probably it will be more useful to the developer because I'm gonna be pointing out some things that I believe can be made better or adjusted to make this for a better experience. Anyway, first of all, this is a menu screen, this is not the play area. And first comment, that text, Tiny Town VR, the 3D one, looks amazing. You cannot do that in the game, however. It would be awesome if we would be able to create this kind of text. Well, maybe not that exact one which has different colors and stuff, but anyway, simple 3D text would be nice to have. Let's get started. You have two menus. One is the help menu, wall select and all that stuff, settings, etc., which are pretty basic here. Photos you have created, selecting a world you have created or deleting it. No, we do not want that. And of course quitting. So let's go on and load a world. I have been playing extensively with this one, so I'm going to be loading this one. So as I was saying, you have two menus. The one is this thing, which offers you photos. You're gonna see what speech and snapping do later on. Help, which is gonna be, I'm gonna use this for this video just to show you how things work. And of course you can quit. And the other stuff is, if you rotate your hand like a palm up, you have your menu, your assets menu. You can see you have, well, you can have all of them, of course, in one screen, or you can have categories of town, farm, maritime, airport, racetrack, and construction. Let's go back to all. You can swipe through categories, well, more specific categories of buildings, items, people, etc., etc., by simply swiping your finger up and down, right? Speech bubbles, which is very nice. And you can also go left and right by doing the same motion like that, right? So you can see how that works. Pretty nice menu. And you can also use the left thumbstick, the right thumbstick, sorry, right, left, up and down, right? If you don't like the swiping mechanism. It's a pretty good menu. I don't have anything to add to it. It's almost perfect, I would say. And right down to the to this right down corner, you have the camera, which you can use to snap photos by pressing this button here, right? So for example, I could go here, press the button. Now this photo has been saved in my photos menu, like here, and I can delete it or I can view it, right? Anyway, so let's start with the basics. I'm gonna use the tutorial to give you a look here. Okay, so world panning. You pan very easily. You just press the trigger and move around, right? You can bring it close to you, back. You have all kinds of freedom. Scaling. Now here's where the thing starts getting complicated, right? So place your hand like that, both triggers, and you do a pinch motion like you're used to from your smartphone, right? And this zooms. So this doesn't look complicated, but the next thing is rotation, which uses a motion that could confuse the program. So you place your fingers like that, both triggers, and rotate. And while this seems intuitive and pretty well defined, sometimes the program, if you do quick motions, it can confuse itself, especially when you're very close and your fingers are close to it. Right now it seems to be doing fine. Oh, there you see it. I tried to rotate, but it reverted to zooming. So these two motions can confuse each other, right? The zooming and the rotating. So I suggest placing your hands pretty apart, not very close to each other, because can be more confusing like that for the computer, right? Anyway, just a suggestion to the developer, maybe he can look into it. Let's go on. Object placement, pretty easy. You move these red dots here. When you place them near an object, it highlights it. You can press the trigger, you can lift it and do whatever you want with it, right? And note to the developer, while this is pretty intuitive, see, as soon as you get close to it, the speech bubbles do not play according to the same rules for some reason. They do not wait for me to go near them. You can see already it's selected and I'm pretty far away from it. Now you ask why this is a problem. Let's say you're pretty close to a scene and you're editing this thing here. And I want to rotate the world. See, I want to rotate it, but it selects this bubble, although I'm pretty far away. Right? I want to rotate or zoom, but it's difficult because it already has selected this bubble. So I would suggest to the developer to not make this bubble select itself from that far away. Just wait until I get this close maybe, right? So the same rule that applies to all objects, I would suggest applying it also to the speech bubbles. So let's move on. Object removal, pretty intuitive and nicely done by the developer. You can grab an object and just throw it away or throw it to the ground. See, it's pretty intuitive. Inventory, I already showed you how that works. This is your inventory. Characters, there is a nice posing system. So let's say I take this dude here, and as soon as I press the grip button, right, so I'm holding in with my trigger button, and now I'm pressing also my grip button, and as soon as I press my grip button, he is editable, right? So there are some points you can adjust, right? So oops, like that. His head, his two hands, his 2 feet. Now, the suggestion I would like to make to the developer is to also have some way of controlling the major joints, so the elbows and the knees, because if I want to place his hands, let's say he's yawning, see, that's not a very natural placement for his elbow for yawning. You have to quite try and rotate like awkwardly your whole, I don't know, see, this is tough, your whole hand. Actually, I have not yet figured out how to do it. I'm just testing this, and ultimately I achieve the result that I want, but you can see the elbow is a major issue. You cannot, there is no intuitive way of setting it, right? Anyway, I would suggest to the developer, please add something so that we can control these joints here, because it is an exercise in frustration right now to properly place it. You have to actually do it like that, move it here like that, and then start to twist it. It's not intuitive, so I would suggest doing something about it. Anyway, let's move on. Photos. As you've seen, each time you bring up the menu you have a camera. You can place it anywhere you like. You see the problem with the speech bubble there. Anyway, I can place it wherever I want. It's pretty nice. It has a simple button here to take the photos. I would like to make a suggestion, however. And you can see this if the developer is listening to the program Tvori, so Tvori, which is also on Steam and has a perfect usage of its camera. You can set the FOV in that program. In this program you cannot set the FOV. So why is that a problem? Let's say that this green truck is here and I want to make a scene that includes this dude, this building, but not this truck. So I come here, you can see I cannot do it. The FOV is not big enough. Well, let's say the truck was here, make it more realistic. You know, I can either take the building into my photo or the dude. If I move back, I'm into the truck, or I have to go upwards and, you know, try that the truck is not included in the picture. So what you can do, that the other program I mentioned does, is while it's here, while the camera is here, have an FOV slider, and I could increase the FOV so that it includes all buildings, the building and the character that I want, without having to move myself back, right? Anyway, that's just a suggestion. I thought it would be pretty nice to have. Let's move on. Photo sharing. Well, that's pretty easy. You just go to Photos, click on the photo, and you can publish it. While we're in Photos, let me show you what this is. This is the title. You see this? You can move the title wherever you want. You can adjust its text by clicking the trigger, right? Pretty nice, pretty intuitive. Not much wrong with it. The keyboard, it's very nice. You can type pretty quickly. You can also make, a few paragraphs if that's what cup of tea. So it's pretty nice. What I would like to see though is in comics you do not have usually this kind of text, this kind of title in a photograph, in a comic strip. You have this rectangle yellow box which looks like a speech bubble, but unfortunately the speech bubbles do not have that kind of box. It's just a simple rectangle box, maybe with rounded corners or something. That just describes what is happening in the picture without anyone talking, right? So it's like that, but without the pointy thing. It would be nice to have. I'm guessing that this title sort of does the job, but it would be very nice for comic lovers to have that kind of rectangle. Right, so let's go back to the help. Speech bubbles, I already showed you. You can place speech bubble like that, and then you can go to this menu, go to speech, and the last bubble you have selected, right, you can edit. So I can edit this bubble. If I touch this bubble, I can edit this one. If I touch this one, I can edit this one. Pretty intuitive, pretty nice. You can also adjust the font size. Oops. Adjust the font size like that. And the speech bubble, which is a very nice feature, rotate with your view. So I'm not doing anything to the speech bubble. I'm just rotating my headset around, and this follows my view. So you cannot make it so that you are not facing it, which is brilliant. Nicely done to the developer. Let's go back. Speech bubbles. Then object copying, another very nice feature and pretty intuitive. So let's say I want to copy this truck. When I have it selected, or even when I have not selected it, as soon it's when the last object that you touch, right? If you press the grip button, see, it brings up 4 ghosts in 4 directions, and you can simply touch them. I'm not pressing anything, I'm just touching them and creating more of them. It would be nice if we had a way of quickly deleting those objects. So for example, I just want to keep him, I would like to delete them quickly, but I cannot do anything, like drag a selection around them or something. I have to delete each one of them like that, which is pretty quick. I'm not really complaining, but it would be a nice quality of life feature if you could delete stuff more quickly. So that's for object copying. Object snapping, very nice job done by the developer here. And what I mean, you have a menu here that has all kinds of snapping features, very nice. So as you can see right now, the object snaps to the floor, but I can move it pretty freely in other places. I can rotate it 45 degrees. And let's take a look at the features here. You can also see this line that denotes you are aligning it to the center of another object, which is pretty nice. I can align it to the truck, right? I don't know why I can't align it to this car. Strange. Anyway, so maybe this car isn't compatible. Anyway, let's take a look. You can of course disable snapping altogether and place it any place you want. Let's make a copy here, just so we can play. Let's enable snapping again. You can have 2 snaps or 1 snap, or ground only. In ground only, you can freely do anything you like. If you have all snaps, you see here I can intersect objects pretty much how I want, but if I do this, it snaps also to every other object, right? Pretty nice. You can snap it to the nearest axis here, or exact. For example, you see now I have 2 lines snapping it, which is actually this feature. It's not this thing here, but anyway, I'm not perfectly sure what that does, but anyway, let's move on. Degrees, you can rotate this by 45 degrees, right? And if you do not want to mess with 45 degrees, you only want to go to 90, you can, well, you cannot see this because this is rectangular, but let's go to this dude. You can see I'm rotating him 90 degrees pretty easily. If I want to do it 45 degrees, I can. And I'm guessing I can turn this completely off if I just want to rotate him freely. Pretty nice. Now, I also have a grid feature here, right? So I can move this according to a grid. Let's move a bit further away so we can experiment. So you can see it moves along an imaginary grid here, right? Pretty nice. You can have that grid be large or a half size. So you can see it moves in smaller increments, right? Pretty nice. So that's about snapping. Orientation of snapping. Well, okay, I guess I kind of show you all this stuff while we were in snapping. Rotation, grid snapping, guideline snapping, and all of this thing. And we're back to the start. So anyway, that was a quick first look in Tiny Town VR. Excellent program. I would like to see more assets. Like for example, you don't have people in the bathing suits, although you have boats as an example. I would also like to see people have expressions. Right now they are expressionless. Maybe an option here, you know, you can click it and he's happy or sad or angry or stuff like that. Right now, if you want to do expressions, you have to use an editing program after you've exported your image, which is of course not ideal. I don't know what else. This is pretty much all I wanted right now out of this program, since this is the first iteration of it. I'm sure the developer will do a perfect job with it, as this is already a pretty polished program. You know, I've tried all kinds of programs like that, like Dvori or Diorama Worlds, and I have to say, while, for example, Diorama Worlds, which compares pretty close to this one, has more detailed assets, more assets in general, and more realistic looking ones, but its interface is just a huge mess, right? This interface is great. It's perfect, right? So this is why I'm probably going to be using this program much more than Diorama Worlds. Anyway, that was a quick first look. Please leave a like if you liked it. Hopefully the developer sees it and makes some changes. And yeah, that's about it. Take care.